Okay, well, I'm Mark Heisman. Welcome to our Youth Livestock Field Day. Obviously, we pre-recorded this. I work for Washington State University Extension in southeastern Washington, down in the Stoughton and Garfield counties, and also my family has raised sheep for about 40 years. So we're going to talk today about basically raising and selecting a quality market lamb project. So kind of begin, like to maybe just cover a little bit as far as the benefits of raising a lamb project, why a lamb project might be appealing to you. So some of those reasons could include that, as with all our forage projects and FFA as well, in that we want to teach some life skills, teach responsibility through projects. A lamb project is a nice project for taking a lamb that's fairly small and having it to be market ready in about 100 days time period in that. Also, the investment, that's always important to a lot of people, and it's certainly cheaper to raise a lamb project compared to a beef project. And as an example, our Stoughton County kids pay about $2,500 to get their beef project from when they buy it to being market ready in that. And for a lamb project, it's usually around $400, $450 in that. Some of the other benefits include that it's a shorter time commitment than a beef project. Most of the kids will have the lambs on feed somewhere between about 70 and 100 days. And I just think they make a nice first year or kind of a beginning project for a lot of forage members. So lambs are cool. Keep that in mind. What we're going to talk about today is basically what you need to raise a quality lamb project. Kind of begins, and we'll spend some time as far as having a quality animal to begin with. Doesn't have to be the best animal in the world, but we want to raise a quality lamb that will kind of meet the expectations of consumers. We need a good shelter, and we need a pen so that they're safe and keeps out predators. Don't need a lot of real expensive shelter, but we need shade and need to keep them as far as getting too wet or dust and that type of thing. We want to make sure that they're healthy as far as a good health care program. And if we do have some health issues, to take care of those as soon as possible. And finally, and probably what's really important, is a real consistent feeding program. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to bring some lambs in here in a second, and we'll talk about actually selecting your lamb project. Okay, so we have two different lambs in here, and maybe a good place to start is like different breeds of sheep. We want to pick lambs that are for being basically grown to be a meat breed, as opposed to a lamb that the focus is on primarily wool. And we have a couple different breeds in here today. The white lamb is a Dorset ram, which is one of our white meat breeds. And then the other one is a cross between a Hampshire and a Suffolk. And Suffolk, Hamp crosses and straight Suffolks and Hamps are probably the most popular ones that we see in the Northwest here. But this Dorset is a really nice, he's actually a young ram that we may keep back here as a breeding ram. He's really a nice sheep as well. We need to talk about the age of a lamb, and for most of our county fairs, the right age for a lamb is to be somewhere between about 6 and 8 months of age. That's a good age that lamb's going to be able to meet the required weight for the lamb for the fair, which is for most of these fairs we want sheep that are weighing between about 120 and 150 pounds. And both of these lambs, as market lambs, would certainly finish out and be market ready at those weight ranges and that. We have two different, we have males and females in here. And while males there might be more males that we call them wethers, shown as market lambs. Good ewe lambs also will also make a quality project. And basically the difference is, just like in humans, the males are generally they'll be a little bit heavier weight and a little bit more muscular compared to their female counterparts. But if fed correctly and worked with, they both make great lamb projects. Okay, so next let's talk about a budget. I think that's really important for forage members to, when you go out, if you're raising your own lamb, that's great. If you have to go out and buy the lamb from someone else, you really need to have a budget in mind, how much you're willing to pay for that lamb, how much the feed cost is going to be, and whether or not you can potentially make a profit at your local fair or show when you sell your lamb. And making a profit is not a dirty word as far as for forage members and that. It's nice to recover all your costs and have some money that you can invest in your projects for next year, put away for college or to buy clothes or whatever and that. So having a budget in mind is really important. Lambs kind of start around $200 a head generally in our area and go up from there. So you don't have to buy the most expensive lamb, but you need a lamb that's a quality lamb that fits within your budget and that. And then feed costs are generally somewhere around $150 to $200 for your lamb. And finally, you have miscellaneous costs, which is like taking the lamb to the vet when it gets sick, or buying some equipment or clothing or that type of thing. So, like I said, before the Sultan County kids, they figured out about $450 in the lamb project every year. So we're going to look at a lamb, and I'll get him out of the corner here. And we're going to talk about some things as far as evaluating a market lamb, picking your market lamb out for yourself and that. So this is a ewe lamb that was born, and she wants to go back with her buddy here, but she was born in late January, so she's just about 60, 65 days old at this point. And when we're talking lambs, maybe we should begin as far as talk about different parts of a lamb real quickly here. So we're going to go ahead and talk about selecting a market lamb. We're going to talk about structure and balance, which is really important. We're going to talk about how much muscle and indicators of muscle. And also we're going to talk a little bit about, as far as if it was a market lamb, how we would determine at the proper weight whether or not this lamb had enough fat cover on it. So this is a pretty nice lamb. Basic parts of a lamb that are important to us. Obviously the front shoulder, this area right across the top of that shoulder is called the rack. And if you eat lamb, the rack of lamb, which is this area right through here, is the most expensive cut on a lamb. So it's a very pricey cut. This is our loin. And an easy way to find the loin is kind of take your fingers, and where it gets squishy, the rib cage ends, and we find our hip bone. That area right through there is our loin, and we want our loin to be wide and long and deep. That's another expensive cut of lamb. Yes, we're talking about you. And then we want lambs that have a lot of muscle from behind here. And we'll try to turn her just a little bit here. And that's if she was set up really good. But we want lambs that have a lot of thickness this direction horizontally, and also a lot of muscle down through that hock and that. So this is a lamb. I'm just to see if she'll just kind of walk around a little bit. As far as her overall structure and balance, her front legs go right into the ground, kind of keeps them out of the corner when we get her walking. And she's pretty good on her back legs. She would cooperate with us. And she's fairly long neck. That's kind of a nice side profile for her. She's pretty good from a structural standpoint. She's a ewe that has, she's not the heaviest muscled lamb that we have in our herd, but she's fairly heavy muscled, and she's probably the right size as far as frame size. So she's either going to be a nice ewe lamb for us, we'll keep her back as a ewe lamb, or she'll make a really nice market lamb project for someone. So we're going to bring a couple other lambs out now, and we're going to give you a chance to do some evaluating. We'll look at some younger lambs first, and then we'll look at a couple older lambs to compare them, and you can decide, if you had a choice, which ones of these market lambs would you choose for your project. So we have two lambs here for you to we're going to have you decide which, these were your only two options, which of these two lambs would you want to take home as far as your market lamb. And there's certainly some differences in these lambs. We have a little ewe lamb here, and these are both really young lambs. They're still in the moms at this point, so they wouldn't be quite ready to go to the new homes as far as 4-H and FA projects and that. But they're about 45 days old at this point. And there's certainly some differences you will see between them. I want you to take a minute and think about as far as which one is better structured as far as the feet and legs, which one has more muscle as far as over the rack and over the loin and through that leg, and which one of these lambs do you think has the best potential as far as being a quality 4-H market lamb. And we'll move them around here so you can see a couple different views. The one with the tape again is a little ewe lamb, and the other is a wether lamb. It means that he's actually has a band on him. been castrated at this point, and he's going to be a wether for the rest of his life. And then go ahead in the chat box, go ahead put the one where you can go the ewe lamb, which is EWE is the ewe lamb, or the wether, or the boy lamb. Girl lamb or boy lamb, however you want to differentiate, but put which one you think would be has the potential to be the better market lamb. Nice view right there, just close it. And then I'll grab these and kind of talk about the strengths. Okay. Okay, so from these two lambs, again, there's certainly some differences. One of these lambs is a longer, taller lamb, which in some cases can be good. In this case, it probably isn't to his advantage. The wether, I'm going to grab him. Okay. And this is a nice size pen at home when you're working with your lambs to kind of get them used to being handled and that. That's one of the tough things is for particularly younger members is to grab the lambs so you can work with them. But if I was going to, and he's not going to set up for me very well, but if I could improve this lamb, I would like to see him thicker through the rack, thicker through this loin area. He's a lamb that has a tendency instead of being nice and level out through the dog. And he's acting like a dork right now, but he's not as level out through the dog, and he just doesn't have as much volume and capacity compared to the ewe lamb. And she's a pretty nice ewe lamb. She's really thick up over the top. She's probably a bigger bone lamb as well. So between the two of them, my choice would be for the ewe lamb today. Okay, so this class is going to be a little bit more difficult than that first class. We have a Dorset wether, and these lambs are about the same age, and they're about 65 days of age in that, and certainly some differences in these lambs. So go ahead, just like the first class, we're going to have them move around a little bit, see if we can get some nice rear views, side views, and keep in mind as far as structure, balance, overall thickness, as far as muscle and dimension. And if these were your two choices for a county fair lamb, which one would you take? So go into the chat box. Again, we have a boy lamb and a girl lamb. We have a ewe and a wether. Go ahead, and I think this one we may have some differences of opinions here, but go ahead and in the chat box, go ahead and put which lamb is your favorite of the two. So these are a couple nice lambs. Again, certainly kind of different types of lambs. Obviously, they're out of a different dad. I think we've all figured that out, the different breeds and that. We'll talk about the white lamb first. He's really a long body type lamb. He's a lamb, if I was going to change, he has plenty of muscle, I think. He's probably similar in muscle to that ewe lamb. But as he stands, one thing I notice is kind of right behind his front shoulders here, he has kind of a dip, kind of a little sway. And he's kind of what they call a little weaker top. And he's not as square coming out that rump. His hip's not as level. And he's probably not quite as attractive as the ewe lamb. And as you get your hands on him, they are really similar as far as muscle up over the top. And I might even give the white lamb an advantage in that. The ewe lamb that we had out here before, she's really a nicely balanced type ewe, and she's really good from a structural standpoint. if I was going to change her, I might even have her be heavier muscle. You never will hear a judge say this lamb is too heavy muscle. So the more good muscle that we can put on the top of these lambs, that rack and loin, and from behind, the better a market lamb they would be. So it's really close. Both of them, I think, if fed correctly and are getting the weights that they need to be. Now, white lamb probably needs to be about 150 pounds. The ewe lamb probably about 135 pounds when she would be at her peak as far as the market lamb. But today I would probably pick the ewe lamb over the white face lamb. Okay. Well, glad that you were able to join us and talk a little about raising and selecting market lambs. I'm going to join you live here for a second, so if you have any questions, we'll open up for that. And good luck with your sheep projects.